What is going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Tonight we're in my freshly cleanish shop and we're going to continue working on dead plates here. So if you haven't been following the past videos on this, I've been really chomping at the bit to get this thing ready for the BleepinJeep BeastWars in like 3 weeks. And this thing has been kind of putting up a fight. So what I mean by putting up a fight is basically it's been one of those projects that every time I try to do something good, like 3 bad things happen and I have to fix those 3 bad things before I can get to the original issue. Like for instance, the leaf springs, I was kind of running into an issue with that because there was some homemade brackets put on here and I really didn't feel like cutting all those homemade brackets off, so I tried to use them, and it was just one of those things that I feel like I've just put so much effort into half budding this Jeep. If I would have just done it right to start with and just cleaned everything off and just did everything the way that I wanted to do it. But I'm pretty stubborn and I had to pay the cost for it. But as of right now, everything is pretty good. But in the last video y'all saw me do, I put in the new lug studs and I drilled out the super tiny 7/16 lug studs and I drilled them out, and then I pressed in with a hammer the new 1/2-inch lug studs, which are a lot bigger. I know it doesn't sound a lot bigger, but they are a lot bigger. And just because the 7/16 lug studs, they tend to shear off, and then that leaves you on the trail with broken lug studs and a tire that's fell off your vehicle. So definitely didn't want that. So I got those on, and I've been trying to fight with these rear drum brakes. They are an absolute nightmare. Even if everything was brand new, I still wouldn't like them. I absolutely hate drum brakes. They're the dumbest design of anything I've ever seen before. And another big issue I was having was I couldn't get the Jeep to go in 4-wheel drive. So these quadra-track transfer cases, they're vacuum actuated. So it has, a shift knob that you turn and it sends a vacuum to the transfer case, and it pulls a little fork. It pulls a little fork over and it locks it into 4-wheel drive. Well, mine was not working at all. I believe my actuator is messed up, but I kind of did some rigging and I've got it in 4-wheel drive, and so that's good. So one of the biggest issues that I'm having right now is my front drive shaft. So whenever I pick the Jeep up on the lift, I can't turn my front drive shaft because the suspension is drooped, and my drive shaft angle is just so extreme that it's binding up at the transfer case. So another design issue with these Jeeps is the transfer case isn't just flat, it's clocked back towards the rear axle, which is great for the rear drive shaft, but for the front drive shaft, it's not so great because, just imagine the drive shaft coming right here, going to my front axle, it's at an angle. So it's kind of putting it in a bind, and I truly believe it's because this is a low pinion front axle, which means that the pinion, so when the drive shaft comes into the pinion, it's actually hitting the bottom side of the ring gear, not the top side. So if you're ever building one of these rock crawlers or anything like that, make sure you try to get a high pinion axle. Now the low pinion wouldn't be that big of an issue if I didn't go spring over. And what I mean by that is my axle is underneath the spring. So say this is my axle, my leaf springs are sitting on top, versus from the factory, they were on the bottom. But you can get like an automatic 6-inch lift, I believe, when you do a spring over axle conversion. But I'll show you what I'm talking about. So if you're not familiar with leaf springs or suspension setups or leaf spring setups, so this is what I'm talking about. This is the leaf spring right here, and obviously this is the axle. And you can see there's some custom brackets right there that makes the leaf spring now sit on top. Now I do have, you can see right there, right here, that is the factory leaf spring perch. So these leaf springs used to be underneath it, which you can imagine if the axle was up here, it'd be a lot lower to the ground, and which is fine, but with these 38-inch tires, I definitely want room for flex and everything like that. Yeah, so I believe if this was a high pinion axle, I wouldn't be having this issue. I'm worried that whenever this front droops and flexes and the axle travels down, that I'm gonna shear my drive shaft and it's just gonna be like a huge explosion. So I'm trying to simulate all of these issues here in my shop where I have a lift and tools versus 9 hours away in eastern Tennessee in the middle of a muddy, rocky trail and there's cameras all on me. So I've pretty much got the Jeep to the point where I need to do the field testing. I've got, you know, everything kind of wrapped up. I've got everything tight. The only thing I've got to do is top off my fluids and change my oil. And so that's probably what I'm going to do right now is go ahead and change the oil. Oh yeah. So the motor that's in this thing, I don't know if I've said this recently in my past couple of videos, but this is the original 360 that I put in here. And I did put a fuel injection kit on it, and I did put a DUI performance distributor on it just because I don't want to be messing with a carburetor on the trail. So I love and hate carburetors. Carburetors, I feel like they have their place, but with rock crawlers, not for me. I would rather just hop in it, crank it up, and shoot up the mountain versus mess with a carburetor, because then you start getting into high altitudes, and then if you get on an angle or you're, you know, tilted back or something, you know, carburetors can kind of act funny sometimes. And they do have off-road style carburetors. Yes, I could have put one on, but honestly, I didn't want to. I want to just be able to hop in it and just roll. That way, if, you know, if I've walked up a certain amount of the trail and I can just tell, hey, do you mind bringing my Jeep up the trail a little bit? They can just hop in it. They don't have to pat the gas. They can just hop in it and roll. No issues there. So this is the oil that I'm going with, and it is the T4 is the 15W40. It's pretty much diesel oil, but it has a lot of zinc additives in it and triple protection. This is what a lot of people run on theirs online. And I also saw a lot of stuff saying, I also saw a lot of threads saying that, you know, you need to put 5 quarts, you need to put 6 quarts. Apparently this motor doesn't care whether it has 5 quarts or 6 quarts, which I think is kind of weird. But I might do like 5.5 quarts, I don't know. But the first thing I'm gonna do is take this old nasty oil out, because I haven't done an oil change since I've owned this Jeep. And then I know it sat for like 10 years before that, so there's no telling what's about to come out of this oil pan. So let's check it out. So I'm gonna try my best to observe the oil that's coming out. I'm gonna be looking for metal shavings, I'm gonna be looking for water and stuff like that. And I'm pretty sure I'm about to get it all over my face. So wish me luck. Oh, it's not bad. That's not bad at all. Oh, shorts. Okay. Only spilled a lot, but that's okay. That's not bad. It doesn't smell bad either. All right, so I'm gonna let this drain out for a little while, and then we'll get some more oil in it. Please come off. Yes. Holy crap. Oh, that is really tight. So what I'm probably gonna do is let this idle for a little bit. I may pull it outside, let it idle for a couple minutes, and then pull it back in, and where it's on level ground, let it sit for a little while, and then check the oil, make sure, you know, I'm not like crazy overfilled it or anything like that. You can't always believe what you read on the internet, so it's kind of one of those things you gotta take with a grain of salt. But if it is overfilled, all you gotta do is just crack it open and get some of that oil out, and then just readjust it from there. So I have the oil exactly where it needs to be, and now we're gonna move on to something kind of cool. hopefully kind of cool. I'm gonna try something. So you might say, why do you have a strap hanging from your lift? So if you follow me from my WJ days, before I did YouTube and everything, I had a 1-ton WJ. I used to have some tube doors, and I ended up blowing up the WJ, the unibody cracked, and the transmission blew up. So I took it all apart and parted it out and kept a lot of the parts. And these are some of the parts that I kept. Ha ha ha. This is a tube door. I believe it's from Valhalla Fab. I believe that's correct. You WJ guys may recognize these, but these are a tube door off a Jeep Grand Cherokee WJ. And I got the other one somewhere. It's somewhere around here, but you can see birds crapped all over it, and it's really dirty. I probably haven't touched these in like probably over 10 years. But if you know me, I don't get rid of anything, and I'm kind of glad that I kept on to these because I'm going to try to make these work on dead plates here. So I pulled some measurements, and it's pretty daggone close. These full-size Jeeps, the hinge is actually on the inside of the door, and the doors that came off this Jeep were really good, so I don't want to screw up the doors, and I don't want to use these hinges, and pretty much I probably can't. So the hinges actually come in here, and then they, retract out of the door and this, that, and other. But so it probably wouldn't even work on these. But so I went to my local Lowe's and got some door hinges for like a house.
I'm sorry? What?
So these are the part numbers that you need to make this work. I'm just kidding. These may not even work, but we're gonna try it. There's a lot of things against me, so these are set up for a WJ, and they're obviously not going to hook on to the latches on a full-size Jeep. But the reason I have the strap right there is because I want to wrap the strap around this door and position it and see if these will actually work. It's probably not gonna work at all, but we're gonna try it. So I think I'm gonna try to clean those doors up before I try to mock them up, because they're really gross and I don't wanna get bird poop all over my hands. It's like 10-year-old bird poop. I guarantee you the birds that pooped on that are probably not even alive anymore. So I moved the Jeep forward, and just to try to get a better camera angle, but I don't know if that's gonna work because of my ratchet straps, and I don't have anybody to help hold them. So we're gonna try it. These are still pretty good, and they got like just enough like crust on them to make them like Teleco looking, which is pretty cool. But check this out. Yeah. They fit perfect, they just don't attach at all. But I think we can change that. Yeah, so something along the lines of that. So I'm gonna pull some measurements off of this, and I'm gonna see if I can find some scrap metal, and I'm gonna see if I can make some plates that'll bolt to the Jeep that I can weld those door hinges to. Then we can just attach those hinges to the tube doors, and then it should work, theoretically. So I found this piece of metal, and it's pretty much the thickness that I would want. I think it's like 3/16. And I believe I can just cut this in half and do some trimming on it. And then I'll drill some holes in it and clean it up, get the powder coating off. I don't know what this was to, but I think this will work. joints that I made, they're pretty terrible looking, I'm not gonna lie. But to be honest with you, I don't even know if this is gonna work, so I don't really care right now. If it does work, I may come back and clean them up, but then again, I just kept I kept coming back and forth to the Jeep until they fit, and they fit, they're just not very nice on the eyes, but it'll be okay. So I think we'll put the factory bolts back into it, like so. That's good enough for who it's for. So my plan is I'm gonna have to cut this down. Let's see, I'll cut this side. I'm gonna have to cut this down right here where it's not on the hinge, and that'll go right about there, and then this should go on the inside of that door right there. So I'm going to be cutting right there on this side of the hinge where it's not connected to that cross pin there. So that way I'm not losing, you know, any structure or anything. But so this is right here. It should open on up, you know, to about right here, which is, you know, you don't want it going too far forward, but you want it to stop, you know, somewhere right along here, because I want it to be able to, you know, help me get in the Jeep and everything like that. So yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and cut this down real quick. I got the new door hinge clearance down and cleaned up, and as you can see, that looks like, if it goes right there, there's like a little spot for the hinge to go, which is what I was kind of aiming for. So what I may do is I may take this back off, tack them. I may get this one on, or I may get this one tacked on and do the same thing to this one, and then I'll kind of figure out exactly where it's gonna land on this door right here. Sweet, this is awesome. To cut this side of the hinge right there, that way it goes inside of this tube door a little better. But honestly, this is kind of perfect. It kind of flows like this body line right here into this, and then it kind of drops down into that body line. So I feel like these were just made for it. I mean, these basically bolt right on. I think now I'm going to mark the inside of this door hinge. I'm gonna mark where I need to drill this tube door, and this is crazy. If these $5 hinges don't work, I'm taking them back to Lowe's. I've got the door pretty much squared as it's gonna get, but now I think I can reach in here and mark it, and I plan on drilling 2 holes here, and some of this, I don't know if y'all can see, like right there, some of this bottom hinge is hanging out. So what I may have to do is just drill a hole inside of this door hinge and just have, you know, 2 bolts a little closer together, and then 2 bolts like right here. So I don't know, we'll just mark it and just keep right on trucking. So now I have the inside of these doors marked, and so now I can drill them out. So I have all of these 4 holes drilled out, and then I just found some extra hardware. I'm probably gonna come back and put some grade 8 bolts in here just so it looks cool. I'm just gonna line this up. Just get all of these bolts started. Okay, if my calculations are correct, I should be able to take this off now, and it won't fall onto my feet. Check it out. So it's kind of close right here. I may have to massage the body right there with a hammer. But other than that, the lift is in the way, so I can't open it up so much, but that's working. This is a tube door. So what I think I'm gonna do before I weld the striker on, I'm gonna go ahead and fully weld everything that I have tack welded, the hinge to that plate, because I don't want to get the striker in, or I don't want to figure out the striker and then weld this and then the striker not line up or something like that. So I think I'm gonna fully weld, I'm gonna take it all back apart, fully weld everything, put it back together, and then figure out the striker. Alright, so I have these fully welded and fully painted. Spray painted them right there on my front tire, so it's pretty good. And paint is still extremely wet, but that's okay. So I drilled my holes just a wee bit larger than the bolt. That way it kind of gives me some adjustment room. So that way if I'm on the trail and I go to shut the door and for some reason something's loosened up or I bend something, who knows, I can just adjust them and make them work. That's just kind of what I'm telling myself right now. All right, so now I'm going to go ahead and get the tube door on, and then we'll figure out where that striker needs to go. And check it out. Yeah. Dude, isn't that awesome? That is so cool. So I pulled some measurements and I'm about square, so I measured down here. It's pretty much spot on. Since these are WJ doors, I looked at buying some WJ strikers, but they're like 20 bucks. But that's way out of budget, so not doing that. So I found a bolt that I believe will work. So this is the mechanism right here. So basically what happens is you have a striker, and then when you go to close, this pulls down and locks it in. So the door can't open. And then you just pull up and it releases. So go in, release. So I think what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna drill a hole. I'm just gonna drill a hole right here and then put this in it. And then I have a washer. So it's gonna be stuck out about like that. And then I'm just gonna weld everything. And then I'm gonna reach my hand up inside of the body and put a nut on the back so that way it's tight. So that way it's welded on this side and there's also a nut on this side. So basically what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put a Sharpie in the door, and wherever it lands, that's probably just where I'm gonna drill. Sweet, so I've got a mark. Now I just need to figure out where I want it to go. Looks like it needs to be as far in as possible, because you don't want the door, you know, at an angle. You want it, you know, pretty much parallel with the body. All right, so I have it tack welded, and now I'm going to test it to make sure that I have the bolt in the correct spot. Ha! I had it latched down, that's why I wouldn't go on. Look at that. Yeah. That is awesome. Sweet. So now I'm just gonna fully weld that, and then we'll check it again to make sure my welds hadn't warped anything. They probably will. Check it out. This is awesome. That is so cool. It's really hot too. And look at like the rusty like patina on it too. So it looks like the tube doors have been on here its whole life. Definitely not painting that. I'll kind of give you a close up of everything. That's that patina I'm talking about. It's like bird poop has just ate the paint off. It's perfect. So there's my striker right there. And then that is the hinges. I'm not a huge fan of these bolts. I think I'm gonna put some grade 8 bolts in there, some gold ones or something like that. I don't know though, these are kind of Teleco-ish. I'm gonna let this cool off and then I'm probably gonna hit it with some Seymour's Paint, the Cast Blast, because it's pretty much almost the same color as this. And, oh, I gotta put the nuts on the back of that too. Man, that is so cool. I kind of step back. That way y'all can see the whole shebang. I feel like that completes like the whole look of this Jeep. Like it changes things. And the coolest part is you can still see the license plates floor. Man, this is awesome. Now I just have to repeat the process for the passenger side. So it is the next day, and as you can see, I came back and just put some grade 8 bolts in with some washers and some locking nuts and everything like that. I'll show you how easily it opens. It's kind of a tight squeeze with my lift, but that's basically it. So I've got the LOWES hinges there. I've got my ugly brackets right there welded to the said LOWES hinges. But I'm pretty pleased. So this is how far it opens right here. And then that is so awesome. And I love this patina on it too. What do you think, Autumn? You like the doors on here?
Yeah, a little bit.
A little bit? That's cool. Did you steal my chili water? It's okay. Do you like chili water? You do?
Yeah, it's like the best water in the world.
Okay. She is not a paid actor, I promise. But if you want to get yourself some chili water, make sure you check out my link below and get some chili water for yourself. So what I finished up last night, I didn't record it just because it was pretty much repetitive, was I got this passenger side on too. And I'll show you how. As you can see, I've got the striker right there. Closes. Alright guys, that's probably going to do it for this video. I really appreciate y'all watching me start to finish up on this thing. I know I've got to put a new drive shaft in, and I did find a leaky brake line, so I've got to fix that. And I've got to get the new rear drive shaft in, so stay tuned for that because I got something pretty cool worked out with the rear drive shaft. And I feel like the tube doors were successful, and they're gonna be super beneficial to at least rest my arm on something, because I just can't stand my arm just to be dangling whenever I'm off-road, and I like to be propped up on something. But anyway guys, like I said, I appreciate y'all watching. If you don't mind, hit that like button and make sure that you are subscribed so you don't miss out on any other content that I put out in my shop. I do a lot more stuff than work on this Jeep, I promise. If you go back and look at my videos, I'm just trying to really push through and get this thing done and ready for the BleepinJeep BeastWars competition coming up in a few weeks. Anyway guys, I'm gonna get out of here. I've got some gymnastics to watch, as you can see. But anyway, stay tuned. We'll see y'all next time.
Peace.